Thank you for joining us today for our third Executive in Residence meet and greet for the first inaugural semester for fall 2024. Today we're joined with Cathy Helm, who was most recently the former Inspector General for the Smithsonian. I am thrilled to have you join us today, Cathy. We will go through a number of questions for this introduction before opening it up to questions from our participants. So the first thing I'm just going to ask is just to provide just a few minute introduction about your career path into how you ended up doing what you did.
Right. So currently, of course, I'm retired and I am loving it. And I highly recommend it when you get there. But there were many, many paths before there. And I just wanted to share that I got my master's in public administration at GW, and I was a Wolcott Fellow. So I had a 44 public service career with the federal government and spent the first 35 with GAO, the Government Accountability Office, and actually started at GAO while I was at GW. I did an internship that summer, and when I finished, I got a full-time job and never really foresaw spending my so many years there. But I became a performance auditor and did work in a variety of areas. Started in energy, also did environmental protection, federal land management, procurement, defense work, did a 3-year tour with GAO's European office in Frankfurt, Germany. It was West Germany at the time. And then for a work balance decision, I moved to GAO's Office of Inspector General. And that was so that I didn't have to travel. But I have to say, little did I know that opened a whole new unknown path to my career, which ultimately led to me becoming the Smithsonian Inspector General, which I most definitely was the highlight of my career.
Fantastic. So you started to just share a little bit of this, but to talk a little bit more about some pivotal moments in your career and how they shaped in particular your leadership approach.
Right. So one thing I would say, my pivotal moments started as an undergraduate, and I did 2 internships. I went to Western Kentucky University, and I spent a semester with the state of Kentucky doing an internship with them, and had classes taught by the state's budget director and other people in high-ranking government positions. I then did a summer internship. And then, as I mentioned, when I came to GAO or to GW, I did the internship with GAO. So I do encourage internships for those who are at that point in their career. I think the more the better, just to help you find out what you like and what you don't like and to exercise it. Pivotal moments, which I did stress, but I will say they all involve taking risk. I never really saw myself as a big risk taker, but actually I was throughout my career. 5 years into my career, I got the assignment, which was a competitive selection process, to go to Germany and serve in the European office. That was not just a fabulous life experience. It was a really important career experience, because since it was pivotal or competitive, excuse me, I ended up meeting people throughout GAO who most of us rose through the ranks of the agency. So it ended up being a very critical network for me. And then I will also say I really honed my skills there. I got to work with a variety of people, got to see different ways of how regional offices and other people did things. And then, as I said, moving to the GAO's OIG, it's a small office, but it didn't involve travel or testifying before Congress, which I would normally be involved with in my position. And I was part of the sandwich generation at that point. I had my son in junior high, and I had my mother with significant health issues. So I said, you know what, I got to kind of lateral over here, and really thought I was putting an end to my career, quite frankly. And ended up, it became almost a second part of my career that I enjoyed tremendously. And then I was getting bored at GAO's OIG, which is never a good thing for me. And so applying for the Smithsonian IG. The Smithsonian is a really phenomenal organization, and I very much enjoyed working there. But these were all risky moves I took, but they ended up really being great stepping stones for me.
I love the conversation about risk, and almost what it sounds like is calculated risks, right? There's random risks and calculated risks. So with that kind of feeding into it is, how have you navigated challenges or setbacks in your career? And what advice would you give for people on how to overcome them?
So clearly, during your multi-decade career, you're going to have challenges and setbacks. And my life philosophy is that everything works out for the best in the end. And that attitude has been critical at times where, I was disappointed, maybe I didn't get something, or, just being in a difficult work situation. Another good adage I would say is everything is temporary, right? But when you're in the midst of these situations, they don't feel temporary. So if you can remind yourself that this too shall pass, I think it can help, navigate those times. I will also say that if you're going for something and you don't get it the first time, try and try again. Don't let, unless you really don't want it, don't let one no close that door. I've been surprised with people who just, oh, I didn't get it, so okay, I can't have it. And you have to read the tea leaves and see if you're being sent a message that it's really not a door you're going to go through. But I really think resilience is a superpower, and that things happen for a wide variety of reasons, and it just may have been that timing wasn't there for you. But don't give up, and go for it. You never know. And I'll tell you, the first time I applied for the European office, I didn't get it. I was extremely disappointed. And just to share very personal information, it ended up being that my father became critically ill. And so I've always felt that that's the way it was supposed to be, so I could be there that final year And then I applied the next year and I got it, right? But you never know why things are going different ways. But like I said, my attitude is that things always work for the best. And that, even though it was a no at the time, which I really didn't like having sent my way, I really do think it was the best thing that could have happened to me. And I've been grateful for it ever since.
Thank you. Thank you for being so honest and transparent. What do you think differentiates you as a leader? And how do you think your leadership style has evolved? And how has that factored into what differentiates you at this point?
So I think one thing that differentiates me as a leader, and this is feedback I've gotten from some of my managers and staff, but my whole career was spent working with teams. At GAO, you're always part of what we would call an audit team, but of a work team. So you're always working with other people. And I remember in grad school hating the group projects, right? Because you got the one person who doesn't show up or whatever. But my entire career was spent working in teams. They were multidisciplinary teams. So I think as a team leader, you learn to play to people's strengths, right? You've got a team, so you've got this variety of skills and strengths, and you just tap into what everybody's strength is. I also think it requires that you foster open communication among the team. And then finally, I think you have to have fun, right? And so, I think being part of a team defined that leadership. And then as a result, when I was IG, I had a very strong management team. And I am a firm believer that a strong management team is better than an individual leader, right? You can't be everything. And so if you can tap into the people around you, I think you can do greater and better work. And, I have been complimented by my managers that I would let everybody have their voice. Even, I had managers who would tell me very emphatically what they thought, and knowing it wasn't in line with what I was thinking. And I will tell you, I changed my decisions based on those viewpoints. So, you've got to be open. You've got to let people. You need a full range of options and ideas to help you select the best one. And then I will say, as a leader, I was a very strong supporter of work-life balance. And part of that was giving back to what I had greatly valued receiving during my career. I've had multiple people tell me that I was the strongest work-life balance person that they had ever worked for, and how much it meant to them. And I knew it meant a lot to them because it had meant a lot to me, right? And you get very loyal, dedicated employees when you recognize them as the whole person, right? And try to help accommodate them during the different demands that come into their life outside of work. The other, I think, thing is having difficult conversations. As a supervisor and then as a leader, you need to have those. But I also, as an inspector general, I had to deliver bad news. That's what I said my job involved, is delivering bad news to at the Smithsonian, a board of regents who included the Supreme Court Chief Justice Robert, the Vice President, 6 members of Congress, and then 9 citizen regents. And by and large, people don't like to get bad news, but that was my job often. Even as an auditor, as a young auditor, I had to brief out whatever we were finding to agency management, et cetera. And so, delivering hard news, you do it as kindly and as you can, but that's a key thing that you need to do. And then finally, I'll say I have had a mindfulness practice. So I think that's been critical to my resilience and my ability to make good decisions and be a good leader.
And for anybody who here is an alum, Cathy will hopefully be presenting for us in the future for one of our alumni programs around mindful leadership. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And finally, the last question before we open it up to Q&A from the attendees is there a leadership lesson you wish you learned early in your career, or a piece of personal advice or professional advice that you got that you're like, oh my gosh, this really resonated with me, that you would like to share now?
So I'm going to tell you my hardest thing that I had to learn, and it's delegation. And as probably a lot of good leaders and good employees, I have little perfectionist tendencies. That means it's hard for me to let go, right? So I think delegating, trusting your staff to do things as well or even better than you could do is I wish I'd learned that sooner, but I did learn it. I had a boss who coached me on that and made sure I got that skill down, and I'm very grateful that she did that. And I will share with you Marshall Goldman. I don't know if you know of him. He's written a number of books in the lead. He's got a book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And it's a great book because all these skills, that make you very competent at your job aren't necessarily the ones that are going to make you competent as a leader in your career. The other thing I would say is, like I said, take risk. Growth is going to be in your uncomfortable zones. That's just the reality of how things are. And then the other one, when I moved to go over to Europe, somebody came to me and said, don't forget to smell the roses. And I thought, well, that's a little odd thing to say. But quite frankly, you can get so caught up in your career and be so focused on it that, that is something, for myself that I have occasionally forgotten. But, it's your career is a multi-decade endeavor. Enjoy it. It's your life. Oh, you're muted, Denise.
That was a perfect way to wrap that up. It is your life. And with that, I'm going to stop recording. We will post this, and I'm going to open this up to